Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday vlog where we discuss activity that goes on here with the channel, current events, headlines that are in the news, technology, and item of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. I want to thank all you guys for your participation here on these Friday vlogs. They do seem to be the highlight of the channel at the moment, but I can assure you that that will change in due time. But I do appreciate the kind of the newness of these changes, and it seems to be attracting other viewers. So if you are new here, I want to welcome you and encourage all of you that are here who haven't already, and why haven't you, to click on that watermark down there in the bottom right hand corner to subscribe, and be sure to click that bell to ensure that you guys will be getting the latest uploads as they appear here on the channel. After last week's Friday vlog, as mentioned, I did go on to Origin and pre-order Battlefield 5. So if you guys are anticipating seeing some Battlefield coverage once again, then you're all set, because I've pre-ordered and I'm looking forward to participating either in a alpha that's coming up or a beta. As far as Just Survive with Daybreak, we learned that on the 7th of August, they will be going on to the PS4 live with H1Z1 Battle Royale and Auto Royale. So all of you console jockeys out there that have been looking to play some H1Z1, they've had some really good sales. They had 10 million sales during the beta, so that's very encouraging for Daybreak. Now, as far as us Just Survive players, I'm not entirely sure. It's been rather slow. We did have the update the other day, which you guys can watch here in the top right hand corner if you hadn't checked out that update note. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it and see where the guys are going to be going with Just Survive. But nonetheless, August the 7th will be the release for the PS4 on console for H1Z1. The 3D printer gun is back in the news this week, as Cody Wilson from Defense Distributed was in the headlines with his 3D printer gun. Now, you may recall 3 years ago he was also in the news because he had just released the information for people to be able to download and then create the firearm. However, at that time, the State Department had shut him down about 2 days after he had gotten started. But within those 2 days, there was over 100,000 downloads. Now, what he ended up doing was appealing his particular code, as it were, and he actually ended up winning. So after 3 years of wrangling back and forth and hearing from different groups and organizations, he actually won his appeal against the State Department. Now, every once in a while, the little guy does win, and that is because we have something extraordinarily brilliant in the United States called the Constitution. Now, some people have been jumping on the fact that how does this fall under the Second Amendment? It actually doesn't. It falls under the First Amendment. Freedom of speech. So essentially his information is speech, because he isn't technically producing a firearm for people, so he's not distributing arms. They were trying to cover that under ITAR. You might remember that back when Obama was trying to find ways to affect gun control, and ITAR was one of those where he was going to limit what individuals could do on the internet so as not to distribute information about firearms and other things. That's just one of many things that the Obama administration tried to do. Now, that's not a criticism towards Obama. That's just simply to say that there was a lot of things in the background that gun control activists did not, or were not aware of, that he was trying to do that really just didn't make sense, and it didn't even pass even by the Democrats. But nonetheless, as we go back to Cody here, it was really interesting to see that he won this under the First Amendment. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link down in the published section an interview that he had with CNN, where you can see where he adequately and articulately defended his situation, very similar to his attorneys. It's not very common to see the government fold so easily, but they had to, because his information was covered under the First Amendment. So great for him. Now, as far as the firearm itself, here's the other thing that people seem to be all excited about, especially gun control and all the others, is that, oh my goodness, anybody and everybody, you know, a 3-year-old will be able to print this out on their dad's computer. Actually not, because the purpose here is, or the focus of interest is the integrity of the firearm. And that is that you're going to want to make sure that it has a decent amount of of the type of polymer that is going to be required to be able to handle that caliber. Now, typically you'd want to design it for a low caliber, say like a 22, maybe even a 9mm, but it would be a stretch to go with a 44 or somewhere even higher. But other than that, and these printers, let's say for example, if you just wanted like a good 3D printer, as in a decent 3D printer, those are going to run you about $2,500. Now, if you want to be able to print a firearm like Cody has for download, you're going to want to make sure that that's a decent polymer. So you're looking at a printer around $7,000 all the way up to $10,000 or a $15,000 printer, which I don't think people are going to be running around with, not to mention that it's not a serviceable weapon. So it's like a one-time, two-time shot and you're all done. So do you really want to invest that much money in that potential weapon? What about distribution? What about this? What about that? There are so many things that are going on right now, and most of it is just hysteria. As you've seen, the media is calling this a ghost gun. It's just their way to make it seem more ominous and menacing, very much like the AR, which is not an assault rifle, incidentally. The AR is for Armalite. That is the abbreviation for the company that made the AR. There's a lot of the media and the left really try to disguise all this stuff and not give you the full truth. Now, when I say the left, I'm not talking about every liberal, of course, because there are liberals, individuals that I know that are gun owners and do support the Second Amendment and the First Amendment, and I guess in a way you could even incorporate the Fourth Amendment as part of Wilson's protection under his idea for the 3D printer gun. I will leave that information down there for you. Be sure you watch that CNN interview with him, as he's able to articulate clearly, and you can see the counterpoint that he does with the CNN reporter. It is absolutely excellent. Well, I'm happy to report that Tommy Robinson has won his appeal. He was heard by Lord Chief Justice Ian Bennett there in the UK. And you may recall back in May, Tommy was arrested when he was standing outside of a courthouse doing a live stream on a child grooming gang. And as the guys were going in to be sentenced, he was approached by the police officers and essentially arrested for disturbing the peace or breaching the peace, however they refer to it there in the UK. Now, this whole situation was a bit convoluted because it was no sooner that he was arrested that he was also tried and then sentenced to jail, 13 months. Now, some people thought it was because of his past probation that he was on, but essentially what had happened was they had arrested him for breach of the peace and then violating a gag order for the court, or that he had a gag order not to cover these items from the court. Now, here in the States, an individual can go to a courthouse and film outside all they want to, as long as they aren't impeding the police or interfering with what's going on with the person getting out of the vehicle and so forth that are being brought in. You can stand outside the court and do that. That's the beauty of the United States and the freedom of speech and the freedom of access and freedom of information. Thankfully, that's not an issue here in the States, but it is kind of amazing to think that they even shut down the press. There was a gag order on the press covering anything about what had happened to Tommy entirely. It was completely shut off. When I was doing videos here in the States, I would link it to the UK, and they would have to go through a VPN to even see some of the content or even the information that was going on here in the States discussing Tommy's activities there. So he won on appeal. Now, this is only an appeal, so he still will have an assigned court date to go back and have this proceeding heard about what had actually happened and how things unfolded. So for right now, everything is looking very good for Tommy. He is on a 2-week hiatus. He has made a very minimal appearance on camera to his fans and all those, thanking everyone for their activity and helping him out. So I will link some information to Tommy's release down in the published section, but I'm very happy to hear that he has been released. He never should have been arrested. It's very unusual, at least for Americans, to see something like that unfold. So this is something that I've been watching with interest there in the UK, especially since Trump had recently visited and all the things that centered around that, as well as the Free Tommy marches that were going on while Trump was there. But nonetheless, Tommy Robinson has been released on appeal. This week, I also finished up watching The Expanse. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's based upon the books by James S. and A. Corey. That's the way it's written, so you can check that out if you want to look into the books. I will link those down in the published section below. But the show is absolutely amazing. It's based upon individuals on Earth, on Mars, and belters, or what would be the junkyard guys who go out scrapping out in our universe. within the boundaries of Mars and Earth, and they kind of have to work synergistically together here in season 3. But if you've not seen any of the show, I would strongly encourage you to check it out. It is very unique, incredibly well written, and you'll really appreciate how it's shot too, because the production value is absolutely amazing, and it has a very movie quality essence to it when you watch each of the various shows. And season 3 was amazing. Unfortunately, they will no longer be on the SyFy channel. They are going to be moving to Amazon, so I'm very happy that Amazon did pick them up, and I will include some of the seasons there down in the published section so you guys can check that out if you're an Amazon Prime member, or you can watch it via your particular cable station or connection via internet. But be sure you check it out. It's an amazing show, and I'll leave some links down there for you in the published section. And that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. Thank you guys so very much for your participation here on the channel. I also wanted to mention too, if you're following me on Twitter, or if you are a friend or follower there on Facebook, I put out a video yesterday. I went to Line Creek Brewery here where I live. Absolutely amazing beer, very well crafted, really enjoyed it. Picked up a 6-pack and enjoyed it last night watching the MLS All-Star game. So if you guys are following me on Twitter, or if you're not, go ahead and follow me on Twitter so you guys can see it there. I also included it on IGTV on Instagram, so if you guys are on Instagram, be sure you're following BuzWeaver there as well. And if you haven't already, and why haven't you, click on that channel icon appearing there on the screen so you guys can subscribe to the channel. And then you gotta click that bell, because that's the way YouTube works now, so you guys can determine when you receive the next upload for these videos, if you want them as they come up or a little bit later in your feed. Go ahead and make that selection, and I will see you guys in the next video.